We are supposed to be apolitical. I know too well your commissioner must have mentioned all this. All this must have been rolled out to you. But there is a need for us to remind ourselves, these have been said times without number. We remain totally apolitical.
Governments at all levels and the police leadership in particular are truly determined to ensure that the upcoming election is conducted under a very peaceful and secure environment. I have implicit confidence in the officers of Lagos State Police Command. Like I said, I know not of any police command that retains this level of resilience, sacrifice, diligence in their approach to their duties, whatever task they are given, than officers of the Lagos State Police Command. I assure the DIG that we have never failed before in tasks, national tasks of this nature. And knowing that the Inspector General of Police looks forward most seriously to us in delivering his promise to bequeath to this country a peaceful, secure, and credible electoral process, I can assure the DIG, sir, that we shall not fail him.
All right, that's the DIG making his commitments and reassuring Nigerians of their preparedness, readiness, whatever you call it, towards the elections tomorrow. We hope that things turns out well the way they have planned and anticipated it to be. What can you say concerning this statement coming from the DIG and as well his assistant, making sure that police are, not interested in politics, not having anything to do with politics, but as well make sure that lives and properties are well secured and making Nigerians come out freely to cast their elections? What can you say to that? And what does this actually portend for tomorrow's elections?
I would say that it's good we are getting assurance from the police that they are going to do the needful, and by doing the needful, that they are going to operate within the ambits of the law. But I want to still implore them to ensure that rights of Nigerians are not breached, because in the course of doing their duty, they have encounter with Nigerians. And tomorrow is going to be a day where you have so much activities. So the police is going to interface with Nigeria in so many areas. And like we have always heard in the past, there has always been issue of perhaps people who want to disturb the election through violence, or maybe through snatching of ballot boxes, through stuffing of ballot boxes. And all these are what this police is supposed to rise up to check. And in doing it too, they should ensure that they operate within the ambits of the law, so that they do not infringe on the right of Nigerians. But again, I understand that in the 2019 general election, I think Mr. President gave an order to shoot aside anyone that attempts to make away with the ballot box. But I don't think that is the case this time around. But whatever is the case, it's good to think that the police authority is happy on operating within the ambits of the law. And I encourage them to do so, because this election, the police is a critical, they are a critical partner in this election. Because INEC that have the power to conduct the election do not have anything to do when it comes to security. And the election cannot be conducted until you have a peaceful environment. And the police there that has a mandate to protect lives and property. So I think the police must rise to the occasion to protect life and property and ensure that wherever there is crime, they nip it in the bud. I think most especially we expect the police to be proactive. Proactive because their job starts even before now. All the deployment we have been seeing across the states, their duty have already commenced. And if we are hearing violence in any part of the country, I think we must ask police what is happening, because we are getting assurance from them that we are going to experience peace before, during, and after the election. So if we are recording violence before the election, I think the police formation that is covering that jurisdiction, whether the police area commander or the DPO, divisional police officer, should explain to Nigerians what is happening.
All right, in the event that we have some certain people who want to snatch ballot boxes, what do you think the police should do in this instance? Looking at the fact that in 2019, like you cited, the president gave an order. Now it might play out that same way. What do you think, in the best way of handling such situation the police should do?
I think the police have the rule of engagement. I don't know whether that order Mr. President gave in 2019 still subsists. I don't have the details as to the rule of engagement, but I'm aware that the police are empowered to arrest and prosecute.
Okay.
So I think the best thing to do is to arrest and prosecute. I think what happens in most cases is when people know that the crime they are committing, if convicted, carry maybe big punishment, they want to evade arrest. And I think in the process of the police trying to enforce the arrest, it at times leads to maybe violence or maybe breaching the person's rights, fundamental rights and all that. But again, I think I will encourage police to be civil in approaching Nigerians in this general election.
What about the preparation of INEC? The police have already stated their commitment, how ready they are towards tomorrow's elections. And it really shows that they will really do their bit to make sure that the elections are really free and fair. What about the INEC body as a whole? What are they doing to really make sure that the elections will also go down well?
Looking at INEC, for me, I think I would tell you that for me, so far, I think INEC is doing their best. And what they have done so far is commendable, because we have seen the successful continued registration.
Don't you think they might want to compromise one way or the other?
That is another thing. But what I'm trying to say in essence is we have seen a successful completion of continuous voter registration exercise. We have seen a successful distribution of voters' card, and as we speak, we are seeing synergy. According to the INEC chairman, synergy between the police, INEC, all the security agencies with the INEC. We have clearly seen a symbiotic relationship between INEC and CBN, because as at the last count, I think the INEC chairman was quoted to have said that they have received substantial amount of what they needed to prosecute this election. And don't forget that the other time we discussed about CBN promising to release the money that is needed for the purpose of this election to INEC as one due. So since we are already hearing from the INEC chairman that they have received substantial amount of the amount they need to prosecute this election from CBN, I think we are moving forward, and INEC is moving in the right direction. I can tell you that.
All right, this is also a collective effort to make the election a successful one, talking about the security aspect, the electoral umpire, which is INEC, and at the same time, the electorates themselves. All right, so what are those factors that you think could really deter Nigerians from coming out?
I think there are many factors, but chief among them is violence, is fear. Before now, the major reason used to be the system, the process is not credible. So Nigeria did not have confidence in the process. Yeah. So that often led to voter apathy. But I think Nigerians are beginning to rekindle hope in INEC because of what we are seeing, and because of the all-circle election we have seen in some part of the country, where it is believed that INEC have done an unbiased exercise. But again, I think what will shape the fear of Nigerians currently has to do with violence, has to do with some non-state actors. Don't forget that we just talked about Simon Ekpa, who was arrested in Finland, questioned and released. Don't forget that we have witnessed in the eastern part of the country some level of violence, some level of wanton destruction of lives and property in the southeastern part of the country. We were talking about 2 days ago, a senatorial candidate of one of the political parties in Enugu was shot dead and even burnt. We have seen cases where INEC facility were burnt, police facility burnt. So I think if you ask me, it is a major challenge that may deter Nigerians from coming out to exercise their franchise.
All right, as journalists who will be covering these elections tomorrow, giving Nigerians up to speed reports, happening in some of these regions or across the country as elections unfolds tomorrow. But INEC have, as a body, is yet to give accreditations to some of us who be coming out to, monitor what is happening and give reports to Nigerians. What's your reaction to that? Do you think such a treatment is being, fair or, justified, coming from INEC as it is?
I think INEC as a body have no justification to delay or to delay the release of Nigerian media personnel who have been accredited, or the media houses who have been accredited to monitor the process. Yeah. Because whether we like it or not, it's through the media that the world will know informed whether the election is free, fair, and credible. We know whether the police are doing their job in the right direction. We know whether any personnel are compromising and all that. But again, I think the media itself have a responsibility at this point to amplify this issue for the whole world to know what is happening currently. That as we speak, that INEC, I think particularly in Lagos State, have not released the list or the accreditation or the tags of people who have been approved to monitor the process. Because until you amplify it and the whole world sees what is happening, that may be the necessary pressure that is needed to prevail on INEC authority at the state level to do the needful.
All right. We also want you to react to this video that is also right there, looking at the materials being deployed and INEC officials also, preparing themselves towards the elections. And we see securities here and there. I also want to ask you, don't you think the presence of this military can also be a stumbling block to Nigerians who might want to come out to cast their civic responsibilities? Although we know these securities are there to really make us feel safe, but at the same time, it could pose some kind of voter apathy right there. So what do you what's your response to that?
First of all, let me react to the issue of distribution of the materials. Because what the INEC told us is that they have not had issues with CBN in keeping sensitive materials with them over the years. And as such, that when they needed to look at options available to them, that they decided to go with the hybrid option that has to do with keeping some level of sensitive material with CBN and keeping some with themselves. Then at the end of the day, I think they decided to keep beavers with, INEC decided to retain beavers. And they gave the CBN to allow CBN to head voting material, like the ballot paper and the result sheet. But I think so far, we have not had any issue or any complaint from INEC, whether there is infraction, whether there is sabotage, and all that. So for that, to that extent, I think that relationship is working well. Then looking at the deployment of police and military personnel, seeing them all over the place, whether it will going to deter Nigerians, whether it's going to frighten them, I don't think so. Because this is not the first time we are having an election. And it's like a every 4 year ritual. So if we used to have an election every 4 years, and the police personnel, the military personnel you see in their numbers on the street are not brutalizing Nigerians, and Nigerians are coming out to vote even in the midst of their presence. So I don't see Nigerians being afraid this time around, except for any person, any individual who may have skeleton in his cupboard. Because for a Nigerian who, according to the way they say that, clear conscience fears no accusation. I don't see why anyone in his right senses will see the presence of military personnel and you'll be frightened. Because in the first place, once you see military personnel, it gives you the assurance that there is safety of life and property, because they have the mandate to protect life and property. That's why often at times.
What about those? Sorry to butt. What about those who have this morbid fear for military, for people who are on uniform, and when they see them with guns here and there, don't you think that can really, because you're talking from your own point of view, yes, it gives that feeling that we're secured and that's why they're here, but they are not actually brutalizing anybody. But there are some people who, never seeing a uniformed man, they begin to feel afraid, not to even talk of seeing a uniformed man well equipped with guns and what have you. Their percentage may be insignificant. Really? And don't forget that what the Electoral Act talks about, is the election, the process have to substantially comply with the Electoral Act. We are not looking at 100% compliant. I'm not saying 1 or 2 persons may not come out to vote, but the percentage will be insignificant to start looking at whether it have effect or not. Okay. All right. So as we coast home, what's your advice for all parties involved? I'm talking about the electoral body, the electorates themselves, the police personnel, and the government. Let me start from the Nigerians who are going to start their franchise. I believe this period of electoral campaign have afforded Nigerians, especially the eligible ones who have collected their PVCs, opportunity to see the manifestos and program of all the political parties who will be participating in this forthcoming general elections, particularly the presidential election. Haven't seen it, I think they would have formed their opinion on who to vote for, on the basis of their conviction that each and every one of them will be able to address the challenges that Nigerians are facing. So to that extent, whoever wins the election on the basis of free, fair, and credible, I'm in for it. Because that is the government people want, as long as it's free, fair, and credible. Then to the police should realize that they have a mandate, a duty to protect life and property. And they should realize that they owe it a duty to the Constitution, not to any political party, to do the right thing. And to do the right thing is to ensure that irrespective of whichever party that you see perpetrating crime, arrest the person. Irrespective of whatever party you get information about that is trying to perpetrate crime, nip it in the bud. Whoever is arrested must be prosecuted to act as deterrent to others. That is to the police. Thank you very much, Matthew Oluku, Public Affairs Analyst, who has been seated here for quite some minutes, giving us his own 2 cents on the matter of INEC and securities as it applies to the general elections coming up latest tomorrow, which is less than 24 hours from now. This is the much we have for you on our discussion segment. We'll be going next to another segment, an interesting one at that. And this will come just after this time out. Please stay with us if you can.